Hi everyone, Perry Husband with the EV Lab, and today we're going to talk about hitting, but we're going to look at it through the lens of softball. And we're going to dive into one of the greatest offenses definitely in the history of softball, perhaps even baseball too, the Oklahoma Sooners. And their hitting coach, JT Gasso, will tell you a little bit about how he's utilizing effective velocity every day in their game planning. And then we'll take a quick look behind the curtain into a couple of the secrets.
Yes, game planning, tactics in the postseason, in-game, in-series adjustments, effective velocity under the microscope there, strategy, counter-strategy happening game by game. Carlos Pena is with us. This is what we talk about when we're at the World Series. Yeah. And I know you'll be texting me, did you see that pitch after this pitch and then sequencing? And that was Brent Strom of the Diamondbacks pitching coach, talking effective velocity. That was him talking. He was on MLB Now that afternoon. The video that you saw was Kevin Ginkel later that night doing precisely what Brent Strom was saying and illustrating it perfectly.
Yeah, it's just basically when you are able to apply the science of effective velocity, which is the science behind timing, deception. That's what effective velocity is all about. Tell you what, though, BK, before we even go anywhere else, right? This is just them using EV very selective here and there. Right. You know what happens when you actually fully implement effective velocity? Right. How about the University of Oklahoma softball team? You see how dominant they are? This is the one organization that have been totally 100% in on effective velocity as hitters and as pitchers, right? On the mound.
I did not see this coming.
61-1 record. Total dominance. 116 home runs, again, leading the league, leading all NCAA. You see the team ERA as well? 0.96, also leading almost by, I'll tell you what, 50 points better than the next team. 117, 17 home runs. Just truly pure dominance. This is the potential of effective velocity. When a team fully gets on the wagon, you can see how dominant you could possibly be.
Tremendous. Rack it back. Watch it again. We're talking League Championships, World Series. Right, not trivial. That's a League Championship Series, Game 7s. We're talking World Series, everything, and Oklahoma. Take a short break. We'll do it again.
Yeah, let's go.
Good. That was good stuff.
Hey, this is JT Gasso with Oklahoma Softball, and I just want to talk on the importance of EV in our program, and I just think within the sport itself and the skill of hitting. There's a lot of important parts of hitting. You talk a lot of the physical side and getting stronger, and the technical side, and what your swing looks like and how you get your body to certain positions. But I know there's not a lot of talk on the tactical side, and what it looks like to have a game plan and put an approach together. And what EV does is it puts people in a position to be 100% on time with 100% of your swing that you have. And I think that's the real science behind hitting, is being able to maximize your swing, maximize your performance against anyone. And when you look at a lot of pitchers through an EV lens, the way we look at it is there's really nowhere to hide, and it gives you a really important tool to have in your tool belt as a hitter, and allows you to compete in the box. I can't say enough about the work that Perry's done and how beneficial it could be for anyone, and I'm really appreciative to that we're able to have that in our program.
Okay, let's dive in. The biggest question in baseball and softball is what creates hard contact or game exit velocity. Because game exit velocity is very important in softball, more so than in baseball, because the baseball is lighter than a softball, and the baseball bat is heavier than the softball bat. So when the ball bat collision happens in baseball, there's less loss at the moment of impact. In softball, that's a major factor, because the ball is heavier and the bat is lighter, and so any mishit at the moment of impact causes you to lose energy. So what we started with is the scientific method of testing everything and finding out that exit velocity, the other EV, plus launch angle or trajectory, that's the secret, is putting those two things together. And they work hand in hand, and we'll talk about that in a second. And what that equals, the way that you accomplish this is through the mantra of effective velocity hitting, which is 100-100. That's 100% on time with 100% of your most efficient, most powerful, most consistent swing. So why is exit velocity the number one number? It is because every time you add just 5 miles an hour, and our average in-person lessons, and actually remotely, we've had teams, Division II softball team, a junior varsity, or a junior college softball team, and a Division I team that all averaged between 5 and 6 miles an hour of increased exit velocity over a very short period of time through this training. When you add just that amount, your batting average goes up in this first run. If you go in the big leagues from 86 to 90, if you're in that range, and you jump up to that 91 to 95 range, your batting average increases by 18% and the slugging percentage by 28. When you get to that next level, it jumps up to 45% higher than this original number and 62% higher slugging percentage. And the home runs go up exponentially just the same. It runs right along the same trend. Homers, slugging percentage, batting average, the offensive keys all go up dramatically when you increase exit velocity. So that's why that's the number one stat. The trajectory or the launch angle is another big, there's a big issue right now with both sports in how do we create more fly balls. And the answer to that is that's not what you want to do. We've been misled a little bit, and I'm going to kind of explain that quickly. What analytics does in a lot of studies is they'll take line drives and they'll add those to the ideal fly balls, and that little cherry-picked portion of the pie is what they compare to ground balls. And of course that's going to be bad. And it even gets worse than that. They not only do that, but they also take out pop-ups. So in other words, the worst fly balls, pop-ups, they take those out of the equation. They add in the line drives to the fly balls. And then they call that whole category fly balls. But the problem with that is it isn't real. And when you try to hit that little cherry-picked area, it causes all kinds of problems. The more up you swing to try to hit that ball at 30 degrees, the more pop-ups, foul tips, and toppers that you end up hitting. And that's where, in my opinion, one of the biggest setbacks in the sport in the last 10 years has been the advent of launch angle swings to create this mythological magic 30-degree launch angle. When you look at the reality, though, fly balls that are hit at the true fly balls between 30 and 90 degrees, though the batting average in the big leagues is 124. And if you take out the homers, that batting average is about 090. So we're talking about the ball when it's hit in the air and it's not a homer, it's an out. Pretty much bottom line. So ground balls, if you look at all ground balls, and this includes 5 degrees all the way down to -10, actually StatCast uses 10 degrees down to 90 degrees as ground balls. Now, granted, they don't take out the weak ground balls. They don't do that when they compare ground balls. They use the dribblers and everything as part of this ground ball thing. But even when you include all that, ground balls is almost 100 points higher than it is in the air. So in other words, if you're not hitting homers, but you're hitting the ball in the air and it's not line drives, your batting average is much better off on the ground. And I'm not trying to convince you to hit ground balls. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be avoiding ground balls like they're the plague. When I asked JT Gasso, the hitting coach for Oklahoma, what percentage of your offense is ground balls and hard low line drives? And he said 40% without even hesitating. Because that's kind of how that works out. It's always that split. So let's take a look at what should be happening. When you focus on around 10 degrees, and the reason that you pick that is because if you take 30 degrees and -10 degrees, the exact center of that is 10 degrees. And that 10-degree line, the batting average in that little pie shape area is ridiculous. It's 502 in the big leagues, and it's probably even higher than that in college softball. Now, 10 degrees, the reason that you pick that one in the middle is because that allows you to miss the ball up and miss the ball down and still get a great result. Because remember, you've got a round ball and a round bat. We have no idea where that ball's going off the bat. It might go this way, it might go that way, and it might go right back where it came from. And in this particular case, this pitch is at about 0 degrees, but her swing plane was also at about 0 degrees. And when you line that up, when you watch her barrel drop into this hitting area and stay there for that entire amount of time, they're in a head-on collision. And so the odds that she's going to miss it aren't very great. That's why they had 1 year where they hit more homers than they had strikeouts. That's an amazing stat. In the big leagues, it's about 5.5 to 6 strikeouts per home run, and they had more home runs than strikeouts. So one of the magic keys is adding that swing path, that attack angle of your bat. The longer it's in line with the pitch, the more you equal swing path and pitch path, the less deflection you have. Meaning, when the two round things, if I'm trying to swing up to try to hit this ball at 30 degrees, I'm going to deflect it often because I'm not in line. I'm not in a head-on collision. So I'm going to hit a lot of foul tips. I'm going to hit a lot of balls down, a lot of balls up that are terrible. They're all basically just outs. But when you're in line like she is here, in that head-on collision, all you're going to hit are your miss hits are going to be lower, and your miss hits on the ground are going to be higher. They're not going to go as low and as high as that. You're going to end up getting way more balls that are hit in that area where you have the highest chance of getting hits. Just about 80+% of all hits are going to happen in that general area. If you could just live in there, the batting average is what we saw. It's off the chart. So when the swing path equals pitch path, less deflection. And when you have less deflection, you max out exit velocity, period. There is no arguing that fact. When you get the middle of the bat into the middle of the ball exactly, that's when exit velocity is at its maximum, period. And if you do that, you also ensure that you're going to actually have the ideal launch angle, because the ideal launch angle includes rocket ground balls. It includes these fly ball homers that are miss hits. And it includes everything in between, like this 15-degree rocket that ended up leaving the yard, one of the lower trajectory home runs in the College World Series. But this was one of the hardest hit balls, because when you're in line with it, you hit it harder, but you also restrict where your miss hits are going to go. That's one of the major secrets behind this sport. So she's trying to hit this at 10 degrees. She missed it by a little bit, but ended up hitting this ball, I think it was 83 miles an hour of exit velocity when that ball left the bat. And it was a line drive that completely left the yard. So this is another one. This is on a ball that was 73 mile an hour pitch, which in softball terms, because they let go of it, or they're throwing it from a pitching rubber that's about 43 feet. So they're letting go of it in that 37 feet range. This 73 is closer to about 106, 107, maybe even 108 when it, if you compare that to Major League Baseball pitching times. So it actually is very similar. 68 miles an hour is the average elite level pitcher in college softball, and that equals about 95 miles an hour of reaction time in Major League Baseball. So they're very comparable when it comes to reaction times. But again, when you're trying to swing up to hit 30 degrees, miss hits are terrible. When you're in line with it, this swing path was about 0 degrees because this pitch path was about 0 degrees. And we don't know where this ball is going to go off the bat, because the two round things, you can never control that. But you can control the miss hits by getting more in line with the pitch. So around 40% of the time, you're going to be underneath that center. About 40% of the time, you're going to be above that center. And about somewhere between 10 and 20%, you're going to be in that center where the center of the bat hits the center of the ball. And that's when you're at maximum exit velocity. So again, one of the big secrets. For 100 years in baseball, they've averaged right around 37% fly balls, around 43% ground balls, and about 20% line drives. And that's been the breakdown forever. And it always will be something really close to that because round ball, round bat. Okay, so here's the video version of what we just looked at. You see the barrel come into the line of the pitch, and it stays in that line for such a long time. She could hit it all the way back here, 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 all the way even beyond the moment of impact. And she hits this ball at about 15 degrees, and it leaves the yard in a big hurry. And again, I think it was the second hardest ball hit that year in the Women's College World Series. But let's take a look at how this looks with some graphics. So you got the ball coming in at 0 degrees. You got her barrel at just about 0 degrees. She makes contact here, and when you are in line with the pitch like that, you're in a head-on collision, and the odds that you're going to miss it go down dramatically. So swings and misses are minimized. But your exit velocity is going to be maximized because you've got the center of the bat heading towards the center of the ball, period. And that's when exit velocity is at the highest. That's why this is one of the highest exit velocities in that whole World Series. But it leaves the bat at 15 degrees. She could also have mishit it a little bit more and hit it at 30 degrees for one of those towering homers, or even up to about 40 degrees and still have a good chance to have that ball leave the yard. But she could have also mishit it and had it go downward, and most of the mishits on the ground are going to be those low one-hop screamers and low line drives around this 0 degrees where it goes right back in the same line that it came on. And the batting average on those balls is in the 400 range. And so if you're maximizing your batting average at 400 on your ground balls, and you're maximizing at well over 500 or 600 on these balls that you hit at that perfect trajectory, then you're absolutely maxing out on everything. So that's one example. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, so this is the video example of the T.R. Jennings home run. And again, this pitch is around 73 miles an hour of real speed. And you can see how early she's in line with that. She's not swinging up, trying to hit that out of the yard. She's swinging through the center of the ball and mishits it. And this thing, I think, goes all the way over everything. But at the end of the day, what she's trying to do is to, again, get in a head-on collision where the pitch is just about 0 degrees again. Her barrel is just about 0 degrees. And now the mishit is at 30 degrees. And that's a mammoth home run. That ball leaves the yard like crazy. But this could have just as easily been a rocket that she mishit and it went downward. Okay. So the batting average is around 400 plus down there. And it's even higher than that on the ones that she misses up, because when you're at a place where you're maxing out your exit velocity, you're also mishitting the ball out of the park often. So a ton of their homers, in fact, almost all of them, are balls that are mishit slightly to even a lot. You can mishit it a lot when you're at your highest exit velocity. You can mishit it by up to 70% in some cases and still hit a home run. This is one of my favorite clips. It's kind of an accidental grab, but this is from the College World Series again. And if you see the hitter on deck and you see her shoulder tilt, it's a pretty severe tilt. The eyes are tilted, the head is tilted, the barrel kind of follows. And you can see how she would have where her barrel is going down, 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 down. And then it kind of passes through the line of this pitch, but only at that one moment, right? Only at that one point. And in contrast, you see T.R. Jennings, shoulders are a little more square, but the barrel is in line for such a long period of time. And then she mishits this and a little bit, but still crushes it. And I think with that same swing on deck, she probably fouls that off or pops it up. Or if she's early, she tops it. And you could tell she struggled a little bit during the series. She had her moments when she was great. But Tiare Jennings had a great World Series. And a lot of it I would put to the fact that she was in line with pitches for so long that it was just very hard to miss hit balls. So take a look at effectivevelocity.com. Check into our video courses, books, and memberships.